I'm going to talk about why web links break now. I'm sure this is something that everybody is familiar with and has annoyed everybody. If you're browsing the web and you're doing your clicky stuff, you follow a link, follow another link, follow another link, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work. It breaks. You get the dreaded 404 error message. It's at best an annoyance, but it can be a major problem because in the case of old websites that aren't continually being maintained and updated, it can make them completely unusable. I've certainly quite often seen websites that might have useful information on, but none of the links work. Everything gives you a 404 error. The reason it's 404 is that comes from the protocol underpinning the World Wide Web. It's one of the error messages, and it just means there's a missing file. At one level, that might seem quite trivial. Somebody's deleted the page you're pointing at or whatever. But information systems don't necessarily have to behave like that. If you are browsing through the files on your PC, you're using Windows Explorer or Mac Finder or whatever, and you move a file, you don't suddenly start getting error messages because you've moved a file, whereas you do on the web. And this comes down to quite a fundamental way in which the web is designed. And really the problem is that links on the web aren't actually links at all. They're misnamed. Because if you think about it for a moment, a link, the word link is a metaphor in design. It's taken from the links of a chain. And a link implies that two things are actually attached. If you move one, you can't separate them. And that's not the way the web behaves. What you've actually got on the web is not links at all, but pointers. You've got a pointer from one document to another. Or in fact, you don't even have that. You have a pointer from one document to where you hope another is going to be. And that's why things break. Let's take a web page. I'm going to just take my personal web page. And web pages are identified by a URL. So the URL is this. Now, if I want to put in a link into that page, I would just put in, following HTML, A, which stands for anchor, because this is the anchoring end of the link. href equals like that. And href just stands for hypertext reference. It's referencing this web page. Then I can just put in the text from the link. So click here and just finish that. So that now is the HTML to create a link. But you can see what it is. It's a hypertext reference to this web page. There is no way that this web page has any knowledge of the fact that it's being referenced. If I put a link into your web page doesn't know about it. Neither do you, unless I tell you. As far as the mechanics of the web are concerned, it's purely the href. It's a pointer to where something possibly is, because it's up to me when I put it in to actually get that right. And if it was right at the time, but then you change the name of your document, then all of a sudden it's wrong. And this is why the web is very brittle. It's why it can break. I mean, there are ways around that, but they're not particularly easy. A lot of the web these days isn't just HTML documents. A lot of the web is data-driven and there's database underpinning it. And if you're careful enough with the design of your system, you can have a system that manages its own links internally and that will be fairly careful not to break. But for one thing, that's quite hard to do. But another thing is that even if you do that, the moment you have a link that goes out to somebody else's web page, you want to link one of my pages, or you want to link something on the BBC News site or what have you, then the moment that somebody else outside of your control changes things, it's going to break. And that is a fundamental problem to the way that the web works. It's because any solution is retrofitted to the way that the web works. And so I'm afraid, although they are very, very annoying, 404s are going to be with us for the foreseeable future, and they're an annoyance that you have to live with if you use the web. People could create new material and new content by quoting original sources and taking the original material and putting it into a new context. But an interesting part of this is TED also envisaged a microcharging